This is the Oakwyn Podcast, featuring Morgan Brown and Michael Yu.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Oakwyn Podcast. I am Morgan Brown.
Michael Yu.
And I'm the Podfather.
We got the Podfather in the house.
Yeah, on the mics with the Podfather. We have to start with a heartwarming message we just got from
Last
from
night.
a wonderful person.
Let me go ahead and read it.
Okay.
I won't tell you who.
Maybe we'll keep them anonymous, but yeah, okay, Morgan will do a live read. And it's just so awesome to just get some feedback from you guys that are listening. And it was very touching.
Okay, I finished listening to the podcast, Getting Personal. I loved it.
Oh.
First of all, if you've listened to our podcast, they're all very personal. Okay, he says, loved how you opened up and how transparent you were. How you're trying your best. And sometimes we have our days. Mm-hmm. So Mike and I both felt that. Really appreciated Braden's answers and stories too. Thanks for putting it out there. Thanks for all that you do here at Oakwyn. That was great running into you.
Yeah.
Right. We are so
it's just awesome to see that people are obviously listening and tuning in, and also that it helps them as well. And I've heard so many comments and feedback from agents how it helped them through a rough time and stuff like that. And so it's just been great to just do this with you guys. You guys are the best.
Yeah. We're just I feel like we're very grateful to be in this space.
Totally.
I've been meeting a lot of realtors as July and August come around. People are thinking of making changes.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are listening from other brokerages.
Right.
And that's one thing that I really picked up on in the last couple sessions with realtors.
Yeah.
Is they said, hey, you guys really helped me through a couple things. I want to get closer to you. I want to get closer to the brand, and I want to get closer to the community. And I just want to say to anyone that's listening from another brokerage, you don't have to change brokerages.
Yeah.
You don't.
Yeah.
It would be good if you did, though.
You could go to oakwyn.com/join.
But anyone that is listening and is really listening to why we're doing this, I hope we get a chance to work with you.
Yeah, and
work
just
with you individually.
and even if you're just listening in and you don't join and you're just getting information, it's helping you with your business. That's totally awesome. We're happy with that. Just the fact that you're getting something valuable from the podcast and things like that. It was funny actually. Did I share with you the story that when I was in Whistler?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Okay.
So tell me.
Oh,
No,
yeah, okay.
it was on our podcast.
Oh.
Was it?
Yeah.
I don't think.
Yeah, you were sitting right behind. It was on our podcast.
Oh, okay. All right.
But yeah, say it again.
Okay.
Just in case.
Okay. So I was actually just at dinner with Pri and Sophia, in Whistler, and I was just talking to Priya. We were just having this funny conversation about, I forget what we were talking about. I think we were talking about like Italian food, and I was making this dumb Italian accent or something like that. And then someone was sitting there, and she's like, I have to interrupt you. I listened to your podcast, and I was like, you're Michael, and I was like, oh, and I was like, whoa, and I got really freaked out, and this must be Priya, and this must be Sophia. And I was like, whoa, that's incredible. And I was like, all right. And then we had a long conversation. She's like, I've just listened to every podcast, and I actually suggest lots of the agents from our office to listen to the podcast and get their business started and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, that's so nice of you.
I find it a little creepy because I was doing an agent meeting.
Yeah.
Maybe they won't do this anymore. But basically they were new. They're like, is Lennon's teeth doing okay? And I was like, how do you know? How do you know all this? But you know what? I remember the time when Mike asked me to do the podcast with him. Actually,
yeah.
we were at our retreat that we do every year, and Mike was like, "I'm doing this podcast, but you should come on and do it with me." Remember?
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, "Oh, okay, sure, but I just want this to be really lax. I want it to be like us."
Yeah.
And it's really hard for us not to be ourselves on these podcasts. So I think, anyways, it's very heartwarming to know that you guys are listening. And our goal out of this is not only for you to get to know us and also our community, but also for you to learn something. So I hope everyone's getting that.
Yeah, and it's just been like such a blast to just hang out all the time too. I don't know if you can tell, but we have a really good time when we podcast. I look
Yeah.
forward to it. I look forward to it every week, although we do it
Every week.
every week. Yeah. You might notice that every 4 episodes we have different clothes on. Like if you watch it on YouTube,
No one's watching us on
Yeah,
YouTube.
no one's
Mike.
watching us on YouTube.
Everybody is listening to
Yeah,
us.
you
on
know
the
what? Because it's
podcast.
the thumbnail should just be your face, and then we're gonna get tons of views. But like the podcast
That's
has
true.
me in it, so I'm like, maybe the thumbnail should just be you.
You know what?
Noted.
Speaking
Noted.
of thumbnail, thank
Okay.
you for everyone that also watches our Monday morning motivation. For those
Yeah.
who do not know this, we actually come on every Monday.
Yeah,
At 9:45 on our Oakwyn Instagram
Instagram.
IG live. Come on it. It's very like a 15-minute quick like
Weekly
refresher
update, yeah.
update of what's happening in your community, but also just a motivation. We
Yeah.
try to motivate people on Mondays.
right.
And so if you're listening, make sure you schedule that in.
Yeah, and Morgan and I do that, pretty often.
Yeah.
yeah. And so that's a lot of fun too, right?
It's so much fun.
Yeah.
How's your summer been?
Nice transition,
like
Great
Morgan.
segue. Great
Sorry?
segue.
Well, okay, first of all, it's the middle of summer. It started to get nice out, but
Yeah.
for some reason today it's raining.
Yeah.
Right?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's warm.
Yeah, it is warm. The summer has been very, very good for us. And I think, there has been obviously a change in the market. Things have shifted. And so it's just embracing the change, right? Embracing
Embracing
it and kind of repositioning yourself and your business and really taking this as an opportunity to be able to work on some really great things, right? So
Yeah.
what are you guys working on? your
You
resale
know what?
team.
It's funny. My resale is so dialed right
Mhm.
now. They're just so good. But right now it's all about just really being in touch with all of our people, like all of our clients. So we did a
Mhm.
big client appreciation event. It was
Yeah.
my first after 2.5 years.
Right? How did that go?
Mhm.
We normally do them every year, and I've never had this big of a team before.
Yeah.
So this is a different feeling for me. I've always had me and Desiree and then our assistant. So it's always been the 3 of us, but we actually added 2 more members, Wayne Bernard and Donovan Pektakan. And I say that wrong every single time.
Donovan P.
But we're very lucky. These guys are a huge asset to our team. So we actually said, okay, you know what? This is our first time coming out as a group. Let's do a big client appreciation event. We did it
Yeah.
at the Hastings racetrack,
Cool.
which was phenomenal.
Mhm.
We had such a good time. All of our clients came out. They all bet. There's like they're all betting. We gave them tokens to go out and bet on
Oh,
the
cool.
races. There's a huge green area, so all the kids came and were playing. We got all these
Yeah.
bubbles and balloons and
Nice.
everything for the kids, and they were loving the horses. They
Yeah.
were loving, and then you know what they loved even more?
What?
The tractors
Oh,
after.
I thought you were gonna say super dogs.
No,
Right.
but I didn't see the super dogs.
Oh wait, that's peony.
Okay,
Never mind.
I didn't see the super dogs. Did I miss something?
No, I'm thinking of the wiener dog races. at
But it
things.
was
Yeah.
really good. It was good, and it was nice to see. You know what? It's nice at client appreciation events. It's like you check in with them, and they always want to talk to you about real estate because that's
Yeah.
what we helped them with.
Right.
So we actually got a quick second to gauge where everyone was. It was
Yeah.
worth it for that alone to
Right.
know. Hey, they're thinking in September. They're thinking in January.
Yeah.
They want to buy another investment property. So for I guess what I've been doing during this shift of what's been happening
Mhm.
is just making sure we spend a lot of time listening to what people's goals are and how they've changed.
Yeah, for
Right?
sure, and really being intentional about connecting because I think when you're moving a mile a minute, trying doing sales and all this rest of this stuff, you kind of lose touch with some people that are really important to do.
Mhm.
And the fact that Morgan did a big event at the I could see you being like a jockey in a former life.
Am I that short?
Yeah.
I
You're very
think you're actually
small.
too tall to be a
I am
jockey.
too
Oh,
tall.
really?
Don't you have to be
They're
like
tiny.
5'2"
They're like 98
or
pounds.
something?
I could see you with that
Very
little
small.
helmet
Just
and
You know what? I used to horse ride, right?
Yeah.
And then I got bucked off and I got kicked behind a horse.
Whoa.
Really?
It's very common that happens if everybody. if
Okay,
you're-
what happened?
So usually what I would do is after you'd ride your horse, you'd have to clean their hoofs, right?
okay.
So you'd take a thing and just like clean their hoofs off of all the stuff that got into their hoofs, so that it doesn't get infected, whatever.
Right.
And I was behind one, and one kicked me out, and then I was like,
Where did he
"Whoa,"
hit you?
Just on my side. He
Oh,
just kind
okay.
of kicked me on the side, and I was fine, but it was like very
Traumatizing.
telling.
How old were you?
Yeah.
I was like 10, 11.
Jeez.
Yeah, I was 11 years old. I also was not like in love with horse riding. I
Okay.
will say that my sister rode professionally at Southlands Riding Club, and I was just like it was in my hood. So I kind of was like, I guess I should like be, but I loved horses. I just wasn't a rider. I love
Right.
the actual form of an incredible. Oh my God, they're beautiful specimens. They're gorgeous, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, that was like, but I used to ride horses later on, like when my sister did this thing for Buffy St. Marie. There was
What's Buffy St. Marie?
Buffy St. Marie is a artist,
Oh, he's a singer. She's
singer,
a singer.
songwriter, and my sister was playing her in a movie,
Hmm.
and so they wanted it they needed an extra shot of something that she forgot to do, but she was in
Okay.
Toronto.
Yeah.
So she asked me to do it because I look kind of similar to her and I'm
Okay.
small, but they just needed a picture of me from behind. So they put me on a horse. I did
Yeah.
it for my sister. This is who I am.
Okay.
And I got on a horse and it was a wild horse. It was one of those ones that you can tell that they weren't exercised every day. So horses have to go out like 3 times a day. Like they're very big. They're huge.
Yeah.
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 They have to be
they're they're
exercised.
born
Yes.
to run.
Yeah.
Why would they give you
Born to
that
run.
horse?
I
Why
don't
wouldn't they
know.
just get a nice horse for
I
the
think
shoot?
they were on a budget, to be honest.
Okay.
It was so stupid. And I was scared. I was spooked. So after that, I haven't been on a horse.
I have to say, like, I love horse riding, and I've only gone a couple times.
Really?
It's this weird, symbiotic, beautiful, like, I don't know. Like,
Avatar.
yeah, I felt like, it's like, it is like Avatar. It's like, I felt like the Avatar, like, connecting my ponytail. Yeah.
For
like,
those who don't know, Michael has a 20-foot ponytail.
I do actually, yeah.
You
I
just
just
can't
wrap,
see it, it
yeah, I
wraps
just
you.
wrap around, yeah. But I like, like I went horse. So what we do, on our team is if we have a good year, we go away. And one year we had a really great year, so we went on this horseback riding excursion in Whistler. We stayed Whistler overnight, and then the next day we went to out to a nature ride on the horses, and I was like, it was just so awesome.
Do you like to just trot, or do you like to just walk on them? Like, are you like a walking guy? Like, do you
Yeah,
like
how
to
much of a
walk-
cowboy
Yeah,
are
like
you?
how much of a cowboy are you?
Are
you from
I actually just
Yellowstone?
I just felt like one, it's like almost like one with nature and also one with this beautiful
Messy,
animal.
Yeah.
And I felt like a weird kind of bond. It's just strange. It was just
They're
very
pretty
strange.
beautiful,
They're
beautiful
just beautiful
beings.
beings. Yeah.
Yeah, they're beautiful beings.
Yeah, and so I should do that more
We
often.
should
And
go.
it's pretty close to our house.
It's close to our house, yeah.
So and that's something that I wanted to actually hopefully if Soph is open to it, but to kind of, I don't know how much of a preppy kid she's gonna be.
Quite a bit if
I
you start
ride
getting her
horses.
I will
I
say
have an English
something.
accent.
I will say something. What I
even
liked
though my
about
dad's Chinese.
Those two aren't mutually exclusive.
Yeah, exactly.
the best thing about riding horses and having that is they're your responsibility.
Yeah.
And it's what's cool is it actually taught me to be quite you can't just ride the horse. You have to do all the things with the horse. You have to brush the horse, mane the
Yeah.
horse, maintain the horse, right? And so I think as a child,
Lots of learning lessons
it's
there,
major
right?
learning
Intangibles,
lessons.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's cool. But my sister was like a rider. Like she would
Yeah.
go bareback doing trots across a beach. Like
Wow.
Wow.
she's incredible.
Crazy.
Yeah,
That's
she was
so
an
cool.
incredible. She was always really, and she was a piano player,
Yeah.
and so she kind of did those. She was actually kind of a cool
And
kid.
Yeah,
now that
you
I
just
think
had
about
you
it.
just went down for a trip with
I did,
Tara, right?
Yeah.
How did that?
I
How'd
saw
that
my
go?
sister. Actually, everyone knows about my sister's thing on this podcast. We had some rough patches in the last couple years, and actually, my sister told me to go. My other sister, who is Arlene Chang. It was Arlene, actually.
Oh, wow.
So I called her and I said, I haven't seen my nephews yet. They're twins.
Yeah.
Me and my sister are just we're in a good place now, but we're not chatting all the time
Right.
anyways. And Arlene actually was the one that told me. She's like, "Do you want to go?" And I'm like, "Well, I just got back. I don't want to it's just so much and she's like, "Do you want to go?" And I'm like, "I mean, yeah, I want to see my nephew and niece. I want to see my sister." And she goes, "That's it. We're going." She hands down told me we're going. I was like, "Okay." And she kind of said, I think that's why you have people that are really close to you in your life. I'm so thankful for Arlene.
She's
You
very
too, Michael.
noble.
But Arlene really, she made me like. I told Mike's like, how did the trip go? And I said, out of 10, it was a 10. It was that nice. It was really good, and I'm really thankful I did that because I had a really great time, and I got to hold my nephews,
Yeah.
which was so
How
special.
old are they?
They're 10 months.
10 months.
They're like exactly like
Yeah,
where
yeah.
Soph is.
Soph and Lennon are.
Lennon are.
Close.
Wow.
And my sister got to meet Lennon.
Yeah, awesome.
And it was just like a really good moment. Yeah. I'm
Yeah?
very thankful for that.
Did you and Tara have a chance to like connect?
We did, but like I think we had 4 kids between
Yeah.
the two of us, right? And I think she just bought a new house, and
Wow.
we went down for a spiritual blessing at the like shrine there, and it was really beautiful. But there was a moment that was really special to me.
Mm-hmm.
I was holding my daughter, and she had like a bunch of people over, like because after the blessing, she had like,
Okay.
all of her friends over,
Mhm.
and my sister was next to me, and she just kind of gave me a hug from the side, and I had Lennon in my other hand, and me and her hugged, and then Lennon put her head, and all 3 of our heads connected, and it was like a moment we were on. We stayed there for like a good half a minute.
Aw.
Oh wow.
That's
And it
adorable.
was like, she just, like these are the women of our family, right?
Mm.
So women have always been really big in our family. And it was just a moment that I will never forget. It might have meant nothing to her. It might have
Right.
meant nothing to her or Lennon, really. But for me, it was a moment to say, we're okay, you know?
Wow,
Mm.
that's this is a generation of women, and
Yeah.
that's so cool.
It's very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she's going to, my daughter's going to have her aunt. And I think your children should always have really
Yeah.
great people around you.
And cousins and stuff like
Cousins
that.
and-
Yeah. Were you close with your cousins
We
growing
were,
up?
yeah, and I'm
you
still
were,
really
right?
close.
Yeah,
I'm still
yeah,
really
you were
close
from
with
the
my-
island and stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that,
I
right?
only have 3 cousins.
Yeah.
So it's pretty easy to be
That
close.
is,
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Like we grew up with all of our cousins and
Yeah,
stuff like
you
that.
guys.
We're very, very close with our cousins from Calgary and the Philippines, and and so like having that kind of big community of kids, and all kind of growing up together, it's like so valuable.
Plus, she's
Yeah.
like gonna be those are like my cool nephews from California. Like
Oh,
they're
yeah.
gonna be
Oh, yeah?
cool.
The surfers.
Oh my god,
right?
blue eyes, like just gorgeous,
Yeah.
quarter Asian babies. And they're just gorgeous, and gonna have a great upbringing down in
Yeah.
California. They're really lucky. They get to be around a lot of artists.
How is California
Mm.
now? Because I always hear like awesome, it's sunny California, it's great this, but then I hear that there's like
Poverty.
lots of poverty,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not
and like
po-
10
it's where
cities
you are.
and stuff like that.
It's
So
where
like,
you
yeah,
are.
okay. So what was
Yeah.
it like in California?
I mean, California's very vast. It's big. It's
Yeah.
got more people than we have in Canada.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's massive.
Yeah, it's huge.
So of course, all along the beach line, like Santa Monica, San Diego, all the way through, like you can go Carlsbad, Santa Barbara, Santa
Carlsbad,
Monica.
I never heard of that.
Carlsbad's cool.
Carlsbad sounds like the place from the Middle East.
Yeah.
I remember
Carlsbad.
from
Yeah.
Tony Hawk's the Tony Hawk skateboard game.
Yeah, exactly. And he's from there.
Yeah,
He's
okay.
from Carlsbad.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
why
he's
it's in the
from
game.
Carlsbad. And who was the other guy, that skater, snowboarder guy, the red hair?
Sean White.
He's from Carlsbad too.
Mm.
No,
So
okay.
they're all
yeah.
kind of in that little area. It's beach town.
Okay.
Yeah.
Those are affluent areas, so
Okay.
you won't see it. Like it's beautiful. Like
Right.
you're gonna look at, you're looking at upwards of
Yeah.
3 million for a house. Like of course it's gorgeous, but then once you get into kind of like the inner part, you start seeing a little bit more of that. There's the valley parts.
Right. And did you get to travel around there a little
Yeah,
bit?
yeah. I feel like I've been there now 9 times.
Okay.
So I kind of
Wow.
get
But
it.
it was a real short stint for you, though. You
It
were just
was.
away
This
for,
one
like,
was.
couple days.
This one was really short. But before COVID, Sean and I always were down.
How are the
there.
airports? Because you hear in the
Fine.
news now that the
But our
airports are just
airport was
like
bad.
the
Our
YVR.
Yeah, YVR was brutal.
Yeah.
It was like you had to before. You know how you go in the line to get into like your baggage checking, and
Yeah.
then they go through customs.
Yeah.
That line was all the way out past the tellers
Wow.
out, and so people had to wait. And it was I ran into Jen Ricci, actually an agent from McDonald Realty,
Okay.
and she was going to Los Angeles or going to Vegas, and I was going to LA, and she was like in the lineup. But anyways, I had a stroller. That's a perk, everybody.
Yeah.
If you have a stroller,
You go to that special
Pass.
lineup.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
pass and go.
Yeah.
Bring a
So
stroller.
even after
Even if
your
you
kid, your kid's 17, like why you have a stroller? Duh.
He just doesn't like to walk.
He gets tired.
But I don't. You know what? That's only in Vancouver because in the States they don't have that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I think it's bad because I need that stroller. Like you can't when you travel with kids, Brayden, you know,
Yeah.
it is like, just tell me, just
Yeah.
let me get to any place
Yeah.
that we can get out of this area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they can
it's
only be
awful.
contained for so long when they're moving. Like
Yeah.
that's why people go traveling when they can't move, when they can't walk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because then they won't leave you.
Right.
When you have a toddler
Yeah.
that
I
wants to
mean,
jump off of things,
Mhm.
it's very difficult. But
it's
anyways,
terrible. You also get a free bag for each kid.
You do get a
so
free
that's
bag.
nice.
Oh yeah.
So a little tip
all
for
the
you.
tips, guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, it was
It was
fine.
good?
Yeah, it was a great. And California is only 2.5 hours away. Everybody, up and down. You're in
Yeah.
and out.
Yeah.
You know, that's the nice thing about California. The only thing, it's just so hot there right now. It's
Yeah.
94 Fahrenheit, which is
Wow.
34 here Celsius.
Yeah, it's spicy.
Think about how hot that is.
Yeah.
It's too hot for me. I'm like, this is hot. I can't. I think I.
You like
complained,
warm weather though.
but not. I like coast weather.
Okay.
I like air like flying in my hair weather.
Yeah, you like breezy.
I like the
hot.
breeze.
Yeah.
I like Hawaii weather.
Yeah.
I don't like inner city, like, you know, hot, blah, weather.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
my vibe. So when I got back, that's the weird thing. I've never gone to a hot place when it's hot here.
Yeah.
So when we
normally
got,
you-
yeah.
so when we got back, I was like, this is weird. Anyways, that was my trip.
Yeah.
But
And I
overall,
think a lot of
fantastic.
people are taking like advantage of this kind of slower season to kind of do traveling and do some other things.
If you
too,
don't have a
but-
passport problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Mike's on that passport train.
I have to
Oh,
get a
geez.
passport for. So I didn't realize that you actually need a passport for a baby. Thinking I don't know why I didn't think that. And I was like booked. Like I was like with the.
You were just gonna smuggle
I was
Yeah,
like
you're
talking to the
gonna smuggle
travel
her
agent. I
through?
was like, okay, we need to book tickets for this thing. And then they're like, okay, what's the passport number? I'm like, what? Babies need passports?
Oh my gosh.
And then so like we're just on a holding pattern until those passports come into play. But then we'll go
Yeah.
away, and then when the time's right, we're gonna go. Yeah, so that's gonna be
The
good.
passport thing is like the first thing I do as a mom. Don't you find that like I got the
Mhm.
passport and
Oh,
my
yeah.
birth certificate are like the two first things I do when I get home.
Yeah,
When I
my
have a
wife was
baby.
on it.
I'm like,
and,
okay, let's make sure that we can get out of this city.
Mhm.
Slash have a birth certificate and like a whatever. But
Yeah.
those are the two big things.
Yeah, well, there is something else that's big that was just announced.
Whoa!
Okay, so the Bank of Canada essentially has just announced a full 1% interest rate increase, which was it was projected to be actually a 0.75
Five.
increase, but now it's actually a full point. So, which is more than anticipated, which has kind of sent a bit of shockwaves of news for a lot of people that are in the real estate market. So we thought we'd just dig in and talk. But let's instead of breaking up, let's just talk about it.
We're gonna go right
Yeah,
through
we're
it?
just gonna go. Let's go for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. So essentially, so
Tell
that-
everybody what. Well, I think
Okay.
everyone knows.
So I'm just for those
But
of
just
you
do
that
an
are like,
overbreak.
let's for example,
Yes.
if you've just new to the real estate industry, you're new to interest rates, you're new to what's going on. So essentially, there is a Bank of Canada interest rate that kind of dictates mortgage rates and
Mhm.
all different types of loaning and debt, in Canada. So basically, it was estimated that it would climb from, I think 1.75 to 1.5 to 2.25, but actually went up to 2.5. So it's a really big kind of
big jump.
big jump. I think it's the biggest jump in
And
40 years or something
It's like
that
the
I was reading.
fastest. Yeah, it's 1998.
Yeah.
Since 1998.
Yeah.
And the fastest. It's actually been one of the fastest.
Yeah.
Because obviously what they're trying to do is they're trying to impact inflation.
Sure.
And also, as people are talking a lot about the recession, this is one way of them hopefully neutralizing our current rate. And what
Yeah.
does neutralizing mean? Does anyone know what that is? I guess neutralizing is making sure that there's not a massive impact, like a huge impact that they're going to have to start knocking on people's doors and saying you're not paying interest at all. So they're neutralizing the interest rate.
Yeah, so it sounds really complicated, but basically there's a relationship between interest rates and inflation. So
Yes.
inflation is the value of the Canadian dollar,
Mhm.
and how that is changing from a year-to-year basis. So essentially, during COVID, and I agree with it. This isn't the opinion of Oakwyn or its subsidiaries, but I agree with the public programs were in place to help a lot of businesses and help a lot of people during COVID. I think it was
CERB.
CERB and a lot of other programs. It was the right decision for. I believe it was the right decision for the federal government to do, but the consequence of that was that they had to kind of print more money. And to kind of make up for some of those services and stuff like
Which
that.
means
for the deficit.
more debt
Yeah.
for our
Yeah.
country.
So essentially, when the
Do I
country
believe that they should have done that? I don't know.
Ooh, whose opinion
Really?
is this?
Me
Are we
and
gonna
Mike
have a battle
a
here?
separate opinion on
Yeah,
this.
we have different opinions,
There you go.
but you know what? Like these are personal opinions of Michael, you, and Morgan Brown, and none of
Nothing to
Oakwyn
do with
Realty.
Oakwyn Realty.
Yeah, and come to your own judgment. But essentially, what happened, and a consequence of that is that inflation. So the value of money has actually changed. So so for example. I think they're projecting the interest year-to-year change of inflation being about 8%.
8%.
So if you had a $100 bill a year ago, it would be worth the same as $92 today,
Yeah.
like the same value.
Yes.
So like everything went up in price, like all the goods and services,
Food,
everything
everything,
should have kind
services,
of
yeah.
gone up in price by that 8% range. So this is a really important thing to kind of understand the relationship between inflation and debt. So, for example, if inflation's at 8%, but you're borrowing money at 5%, there's actually a 3% difference. So you're actually borrowing the money cheaper than the inflation of today. So the value of the money is changed. So it's actually, when they increase the interest rate, it hopefully helps to bring the inflation rate down. So that's kind of the relationship and how it works. So actually, like, if you're borrowing money right now, it's still below inflation rates. So just as something to kind of consider.
I think everyone needs to also know, because we've been having a lot of conversations about this, especially at our offices, and it's still at a historic low.
Yes.
Like, I think everyone's like, oh my God, it's
The
going
interest
up.
rates.
Interest rates.
Yeah.
So I think
The
a lot
inflation rates are at a historic
Also
high. Since the 1980s or 90s was the last time there was a big inflation.
And this is why it's so important for you to know this, because you can educate your clients about that. I think that's why people are always just freaking out about the rates, but there's definitely a contrast there.
Yeah, and I think you got to look at it overall in the context of the market and history. So, for example, interest rates have increased. However, in the 100-year history of mortgages and getting tracked in terms of it's actually like historically still a very low interest rate.
Still very low. Yeah. In the 80s, they were hitting at 18 to 22%.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
So I just want to put contrast to that. It's like, yes, we've been having a very low interest rate for a very long time.
Yeah, we've been in a very low interest rate climate over the last 2 to 3 years, and even more than
a decade.
That. Yeah, and that is really, a lot of people think that has really superheated the real estate market. Obviously, having a low interest rate environment. So, the fact that there are changes happening, I think we want to get knowledge and equip ourselves to be able to answer questions from our clients to provide that value. And so,
and they are calling, just so everyone knows, they are calling for it to continue to increase in October and in September and October.
Yeah.
So just so you know, this is not just like the end of it. They are calling that it will go up by a slight amount, maybe not 0.75%, but a higher rate.
The finance people that I'm speaking, that I've talked to, have a variety of different opinions. Some think that it's going to kind of continue to have a higher rate environment, like an increased environment, and then plateau, and then start actually heading downwards.
That's what they say.
Because once they see that we
in
go
2023.
if we go into a recession, then it's going to be very difficult for people to be able to, keep their businesses and stuff like that. And when they see that, then maybe they would adjust the interest rate accordingly. So it's really, so you want to be have your finger on the pulse and talk to the appropriate people, but then also have your concise answers for your public or for your clients, and when they ask these types of questions.
And I think what we should just dive in right away is, how can we react to this information to our clients? How can we control how our reactions are to our clients?
Yeah. So first off, you want to just get as much knowledge as possible. Learn, like, in an environment where sales counts have changed from year to year. They're down about 30 or 40% or
Yeah,
something like that.
40%.
So essentially, it gives us the time to be able to gain that knowledge and learn what inflation does and how that affects interest rates and get the knowledge of what's happening, from a macroeconomic perspective. So you can learn a lot about and filling your head with knowledge as a reaction, because people are going to be talking about it. They're going to ask your solid advice. And so you want to be able to give them valuable knowledge and information that they'll be able to understand. So, for example, I work with a lot of working class people. I work with a lot of older people, and they want to know kind of a condensed version of what all the time, because they're not professional real estate agents, and so they want to know what's going on with the market, and you'll need to have a concise, prepared response for when someone asks you, so what's going on with the market or what's going on with interest rates. So you want to prepare that.
And I think the next thing is, how is that going to impact them?
Yeah.
How is it going to impact the buyers, and how is that going to impact them as sellers, right? So those are the first thing is getting your knowledge, understanding where what inflation is, like what is, and you can do this by so many different resources. Like, I think the best personally is just by talking to other brokers, talking to other professionals that are in the wealth space. They'll be able to kind of give you even a greater piece of what's going to happen, and a slight prediction of what could come down the pipe. The second is to kind of identify, how this is going to impact your buyers and sellers, and hopefully not hinder, but give you opportunity for growth in your own business.
Yeah, for sure. So we can take this as a really big positive, and essentially a lot of buyers that were waiting on the sidelines for, because the market was really overheated, they lost countless multiple offers. Like, this is their opportunity to kind of be able to write an offer with subjects and do their due diligence and do it in a traditional manner of purchasing properties. They're going to be able to go in with full knowledge and everything, whereas before maybe they felt forced to kind of go subject free and rush into the market. Now they'll be able to actually take their time. And as a professional real estate agent, you'll be able to show your skills of negotiation and really kind of show off your skills and to make a big difference with your clients.
The truth is that right now what you're going to see is less buyers, less competition.
Yep.
So we're going to be able to get in there, find exactly what you want at the time you want to do it, and not feel rushed, as Mike was saying. Just so pushing that into, as the buyer, like, hey, this might be a great opportunity for you.
Right.
We might be able to get you a really great property because there's less competition and there's less buyers out there for us to kind of.
So what are you telling your buyers right now, Morgan? So let's say buyers like, so Morgan, should I buy now or buy later?
Well, I've been having that question for the last 24 hours.
Yeah.
I'm going to. No. So first of all, it depends on where they are at. So one, are you pre-approved? Are you approved? Like, where are you in the state of mind of purchasing a property? What stage are you in your life? Do you have a baby coming on your way? Do you need a 3-bedroom? That's what I've been dealing with. Or are you comfortable and you can sit on the sidelines and wait for a little bit of time, right? So I think number one is finding what your client's position is and where they want to go, right? So that's number one. Number two is, if you're pre-approved, these rates, if you're approved, number one, this won't have any hinder to your current rates.
Right.
And if you're pre-approved, you may have to pre-qualify again to get pre-approved.
Right.
So those are two big things. So I've been kind of pushing on my clients.
Are
you pre-approved?
Yeah.
Are you pre-approved?
To get their finances in line.
Please tell me, because if you are, this could easily change the budget that you're working with, which means it changes what we do for them.
Right.
What we look for our clients. So to answer your question about how I work with each one of them, I just kind of sit down and say, hey, where are you at on this buying process? And can I introduce you to some necessary people?
Right.
Like, for instance, another broker from another brokerage. But overall, I truly believe, this is again my personal opinion,
Right.
claiming this, is that, there's really, like how long are you going to be living in this land of,
Right.
like, are you going to be flipping this property? Because probably not the best time for you to buy it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, just not do it.
Right.
But if you're like
good
3 to
advice.
5 to 10 years, then I think, it's more advantageous for you to purchase now.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I've been saying.
Right.
And they say, why? And I say, because less people are in the market right now. It's going to go through its cycle. And I think you'll be ahead of it in the next couple of years. I think we will see another reduction of interest rates, and people are still buying and selling. We just had 2 record-breaking sales in downtown Vancouver. 2 $4 million properties just sold yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So there are people buying and selling,
Right,
right?
yeah.
And the average day on market now in the downtown core used to be, when we were during COVID, was like 5 days, and it's just gone up to 25 days. Like it changes a little bit, but things are still trading. Things are still selling,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So what are you telling your buyers?
So I try to take a very holistic approach. So essentially, this isn't a question that you can answer, I think, with just either an anecdotal response, like buy now or buy later. I like to really try to get as much knowledge from the client as to where is it, like Morgan, like where they're exactly at,
Yes.
so that we could provide the best advice. So essentially, because the answer is going to be different, buy now, buy later, based on the certain circumstance of that client.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, basically, I like to actually get all the information. So I try to understand, okay, do you have a down payment set aside for a potential purchase of an investment property or first time home buyer? What is happening with that money right now?
Yeah.
Actually?
Where is it?
Like,
Yeah.
is it in the stock market? Is it in
RSPs.
RSPs? Is it in your GIC? Because essentially, lots of things have changed. And looking forward, if someone waits in a very inflationary environment, it's actually their money is getting devalued potentially
In the
quicker
bank.
than the cost of than the value of a hard asset. So really understanding very clearly
Mm-hmm.
what where they're at from a financial perspective is going to be is a question that I ask a lot of the clients that I work with from a buying perspective. So
So if someone's saying to you right now, which I'm hearing a lot as I walk down the halls
sure.
from other clients, why would I buy right now when the market's going to go down?
Mm-hmm.
That's what they're usually saying. I'm thinking that the market, all the properties are going to be devalued later on in the fall. That's what they think. Or people are making assumptions of this. What are you saying to people? Michael?
Yeah, it's
You.
So it's an opportunity. Like for me, it's an opportunity to buy great properties at prices that aren't peak prices, and also it's really going to be based on that opportunity as well. So, for example, like in my personal portfolio, I buy in every market. I buy in up markets. I buy in down markets, and it's because I believe in what the asset is. I believe in the real estate assets of Vancouver and BC. I believe that in a 10-year window or a 20-year window, they're all going to be more valuable than they were when I originally bought them. So that's kind of my perspective on it, because it's converting cash into a hard asset. And that helps to build net worth in the future. And if it's a rental investment or it's a personal property, eventually it will. I don't think the market is going to long term going to soften over like a 20-year window. So as long as you have the holding power, I think it's important, and it's a good thing to purchase. But in slower markets, you can buy really great property.
I know.
So, for example, the East Van detached market was just insane during COVID. Like, you couldn't get a good property, so you're always having to make these like.
I did. I got one.
Exactly. But you're always having to make these concessions. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to get a full lot. I'm not going to get this. I'm not going to get that. And I just need to get in. So I'll just like get a property. Whereas in a slower market, you can get good property at prices and have a chance to do your due diligence and get them at reasonable prices. So you can even improve the assets that you have, and really get really valuable properties. So it's about the opportunity, number
Mhm,
one.
mhm.
And it's about negotiating as well. So for example, not being bashful to try a lower offer and really serving your buyer. And
What is
maybe,
low, Mike? What is the low offer to you?
well, you could potentially price in. So for example, we talked,
What's a low ball, Braden? What's a
Well,
low ball?
yeah. Well, it just depends. So, like, let's say you're looking at a recent sale that's really comparable. You could write an offer that's 3 to 5% less than that last recent sale because you're kind of looking at home pricing indexes change and going south, and you want to like kind of maybe budget in, just say, hey, it's trending this way, so I'm gonna negotiate as though it was 6 months from now, and what I think the prices are gonna be 6 months from now. And that is a very and if as long as it's explained to the listing agent and explained to your clients that that's kind of the method we're going to use, hey, then that's a method that we've done with some success, and we've been able to pick up some great properties for people. So, yeah.
I've also have been talking to a lot of people that are buying and selling in the same market.
Yeah.
And that's a lot easier for people
Very
to think
easy,
of,
yeah.
right? Because you're just literally doing it laterally,
Yeah.
and you might be increasing your budget or increasing where you are, right?
Mhm.
Or sorry, moving to a different place. So that's what I've been finding.
Yeah.
That's my suggestion.
Yeah,
to
if you're
people.
buying and selling
Yeah.
in the same market, it's
You're in a pretty good
you're in a good position because whatever, even if you're selling your property for a little bit of a lower than peak pricing, you're going to
Yeah.
be buying lower than peak pricing as well. So
Yeah.
it's like the same environment, but it actually, the pace of the decision is a bit more convenient for a lot of upsizers and downsizers because previously, like we talked about this years ago, a couple years ago or a year ago, about like, do I sell before I buy? Like, do I buy before I sell? Like, maybe my client
You
might
sell
go
before you
homeless.
buy to people.
Yeah, now you must
you
sell.
sell before you buy.
Now you must sell before you buy. But just looking at that perspective of like, the pace of this transition is going to be a lot more beneficial in our favor. We can take our time instead of like
Mhm.
being super rushed and feeling like you can't negotiate and you're just getting like, yeah. So
I think everyone has to look at their own financial budgets too. Like,
Mhm.
tell your clients, hey, maybe we should adjust some of our budgets a little bit more so you have that, what Mike was saying about what you have saved, so
Yeah.
that you don't feel like you're scared.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a lot of people were stretching their budgets during the last couple of years to just get in. And they're still doing really well. Like, I still think those people that bought in the
as
last
long
2
as they
years,
hold for 10 years,
they're good.
it's fine. Like we bought our first properties in the peak of the market.
did.
Morgan and I did.
Yeah.
And we're buying properties now. Like
Yep.
we're closing on one anyways. So like, yeah, we're still
We're
like
closing on one now, and I'm like, whoa.
like, are you sure? I'm like, I'm sure.
I trust him.
Yeah, we're like buying. We're buying something like next week. We're signing our lives away again.
long term, right?
Long term, Morgan.
Long term. It's all long term. I swear. I'm married by land with this family. I'm screwed. I'm just joking.
Best
Okay,
decision
but
you ever made.
but I think finding a couple tips here,
Second best
everybody, is
decision.
what about Sean?
Yeah.
A couple things is finding the relationship between the interest rate and inflation, figuring that out, being knowledgeable about it to your clients, and then also just knowing the
Historical context. Yeah.
of where we are right now.
Right.
And I think we say, again, we are in a very still good space. I think Vancouver in general, real estate is still trading.
Yeah.
I'm seeing it, everybody.
Yeah.
It's
just
busy.
going from a seller's market to a normal market. Yeah, which,
And I
yeah.
like a normal sales cycle.
Yeah.
We have more time to order documents.
Yeah. Exactly.
I'm going to be honest. They're getting to me very quickly these days. I
Yeah.
don't know why. And then the opportunities that are in the market, Mike's completely right. There is always an opportunity out there. Where can you find it, and make sure you're servicing your clients in the best ability right now, searching for it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Any other news on the Bank of Canada interest rates? Any other like tidbits to people?
Well,
out
I think
there?
it's actually an opportunity for us, like we were talking about earlier in this podcast, but it's an opportunity for you to connect with your clients,
Mhm.
and give them valuable information. You might want to give them a service of, hey, would you like me to review your mortgage and introduce you to the right people, because you might want to go into a fixed rate, and it's just an opportunity to be able to connect with people because essentially, I think it's something that we learned, from a lot of our podcasts is, building this kind of a communication ecosystem with your past clients, your people that and you want to be the valuable resource for them, when it just comes to real estate in general. And so if you're the real estate guy in the group, or in your group of friends or in your communities, you're known as the real estate guy that tells people about what's going on in the marketplace. Eventually, when people are ready, they're going to connect with you because you were there, in the high times and the low times and all times, and really open and to kind of giving value. So I think it's a great opportunity for us to do that right now.
Yeah, and I think what I'm finding that a lot of people are wondering about is the opportunities of holding their money not in the banks. Like that's what I've noticed, and to put it into this hard asset. So they're like, we don't want to. They'll say to me, oh, "Okay, Morgan, we have $300,000 sitting in the bank."
Yeah.
What are you doing with that, guys? Like, what are you putting? It's much easier for you to put it into something that's actually more tangible.
Yeah. So in that exact example, and this is something that I shared with, I had a similar client question. I have X, 300,000 in the bank or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Like, what should I do? And I said, if inflation continues as what it is, that $300,000 in 1 year's time is going to be worth 270,000. Yeah, something thousand.
Discounted by 30. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, if we were to put that in a real estate asset, what would that asset be? Would it be lower or higher than that? We have to look at it and make sure that it's going to be the right decision, because long term, holding really valuable assets is a really great way of building wealth for the long term. What's great about real estate is that obviously, if you're not living in the property, you can always rent it out and get rental income that comes from the property that covers a lot of the costs of of borrowing, and it's a great vehicle for investment as well. You get to write off interest on income from mortgage interest. You get to write off property taxes and stuff like that, and it's a wealth builder because eventually, in a 5-10 year window, that value of that property is going to go up, and you're able to trade and do lots of other things to build your assets up. So yeah,
I think that's great. So do you have any questions about the Bank of Canada and the interest rates, or if you'd like to know more information about how to guide your clients or tackle this market? I find that a lot of agents are restructuring what they're doing, figuring out different ways of prospecting, which we hopefully will dive into another session.
Yeah, for sure.
And then feel free to reach out to us. Thanks so much for listening, guys,
to
the Oakwyn Interest Rate Podcast.
I thought you forgot the word podcast.
Yeah.
Oakwyn Podcast.
Yeah.
If you'd like to know more about Oakwyn, go to oakwyn.com/join and put in that message box Evolve 2022, and one of our Oakwyn leaders will reach out to you. But how will they rate us? Oh yeah, those people that are those people that are sending us those nice emails and texts, we love you.
Yeah.
But please rate us.
Yeah, rate us 5 out of 5 on the podcast platform you're listening to it on, and write us a review. We'd really appreciate it. And if you do go to our join page and you do type in Evolve 2022, you do get a free piece of mystery swag when you meet one of our leaders there. And until next time, guys, thanks so much for listening to the podcast. Okay, see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.